This is pretty damn exciting. We just got brand new gameplay and an entire breakdown of the Division Heartland, Ubisoft's upcoming extraction looter shooter, like Escape from Tarkov, like Call of Duty's DMZ, where you make it to an exfil with all your loot, and if you die, you lose everything, but set in the Division's universe. And I gotta tell you, it is way bigger and way more in depth than we thought. If you were a fan of the OG Division 1 Dark Zone and the beloved survival mode, you are in for a real treat today, especially if you're a console player that's been missing out on these new extraction looter shooters that have only been releasing on PC. If we've never met before, I'm Player 2. I'm here to keep you guys updated on any news, gameplay, and release schedules for the Division Heartland. So if you want to stay in the know with this game, and you're a super sexy, highly intelligent mecha being, consider subscribing so that I can keep you in the loop. So firstly, in this dev deep dive, we finally got the full vision of exactly how this game is going to be unique from the Division 1 and 2. Essentially, Heartland will be a dark zone that you drop into, except instead of tying your loot up to a rope and the chopper just takes it out, you will ride the rope up to the chopper to exit back to the base of operations when you're done with a session. With PvPvE threats, up to 3-man teams of enemy players, roaming hordes and NPC bosses, you will complete missions, mini objectives, as well as loot to build up sections of your base of operations and progress your character, similar to previous Division games. Now, completely unique to Heartland, there is an all-new day and night cycle that will change the way that you play the map after dark, with potentially new missions to complete, enemies you can encounter. More importantly, they made no mention, and I see no indication of a match timer, leading me to assume that there isn't one, which would be a massive positive, allowing players to choose when it's time to leave and head back to the base of operations, just as they did in the original Dark Zone, creating fun and tactical decision making, and giving the player more agency on what they're willing to risk the longer that they stay in. They also say something that raised some questions for me. When day turns to night, the threat of survival increases, and the threat of rogue players and dangerous AI is introduced. So I imagine with survival, some of the mechanics we're going to talk about here shortly will be even greater. More difficult AI will probably spawn in with better loot rewards, but introducing the threat of rogue players, maybe during the day, there is no PvP, only PvE. Also, will we have the choice of time of day that we drop in? What do you guys think? Now, the day and night cycle is exciting, but another huge win is the OG survival mechanics being implemented in the form of thirst, which a player will need to find and drink water to quench, which it doesn't look like you can die of thirst. When they pull up their wheel UI, the water says used to quench thirst and remove any thirst debuffs. So being thirsty will likely just have negative effects on the player, like slower movement speed or slower health regen. There will also be some type of contamination that will affect certain sections of the map, requiring filter gas masks to enter and survive. And because in several sections of the gameplay they show us almost a type of Warzone-esque looking border moving and expanding from these locations, it could be possible that within every session, eventually the contamination consumes the map, pushing players out to their exfils, similar to the radiation in DMZ. They also make a quick mention of the possibility of sickness, meaning similar to survival mode in the Division 1, we may be able to contract infections, of which we'll have to seek out medicines and painkillers to combat the negative effects. I doubt they're going to drop us into every raid with the infection already attached to our character like they did in survival mode in the first Division, but we'll see. And finally, I did also notice that a down player at one point in the gameplay they showed had a slot for self-revives. This is going to be a factor that shows they are looking to what other games in this genre are doing for inspiration. Self-revive kits are imperative for solo players in Call of Duty's DMZ. And I could see that being the same case for those dropping into Heartland alone. Now, one of my favorite systems coming with Heartland that's been missing in extraction looter shooters is class builds, allowing every player to cater to their specific playstyle by utilizing perks they like from one of 3 available classes: Weapons Expert, Medic, and Survivalist. Each of these 3 will have their perks and specific abilities, like the Survivalist being able to find loot behind walls, speeding up the looting process and getting out with more gear because of it, or the Weapons Expert being able to craft and deploy an assault turret. Speaking of crafting, Heartland will also feature an entire out-of-raid fabricating system, to craft items from 3 major categories: equipment, like weapons, maybe armor; resources, like different types of magazines; and consumables, which I imagine is like med kits and maybe drinks. It also looks like there's going to be 3 types of crafting material to make all the items that you need. And by deconstructing items you have no use for, you will likely gain these materials. Now for the base of operations. This is where every raid into Heartland will begin and end. Here you'll be able to store items that you've extracted with into a personal stash known as the Armory, and equip what you want to take in with you into your next drop by placing it in your go bag. You'll also be able to visit traders to buy and sell, meet with other players, and accept new types of missions as well as complete contracts. Now, as of right now, by heading to the Division Heartland's website, link is in this video's description, you can register to participate in their next playtest, which the date for has not yet been announced, but I'll let you guys know as soon as it is. And can I be honest? Personally, not a fan of third-person shooters, at least when it comes to online PvP. But I'm really liking what I'm hearing about the Division Heartland. And I'm a big fan of the original Dark Zone. Arguably, the Division began the entire genre of extraction looter shooters with the Dark Zone and the survival mode. So if anybody is going to get this type of game right, they have the potential to do so. Usually I'd say, yeah, it looks good, but it's Ubisoft. But more I think than any AAA developer right now, Ubisoft needs a win. Skull and Bones is probably going to be delayed again or probably canceled. And they have enough of their fan base that already has super nostalgic vibes for the Dark Zone, including myself. So I say, let them cook. I'll let you guys know if we get any new info. Then check out this other upcoming extraction looter shooter that me and my buddy Big Fry just got to playtest. It's pretty weird. It's weird.